another vlog, and this is gonna be probably very raw, maybe boring, because it's a very typical day of working with a bunch of meetings and some errands in between, and a typical deep work session in the morning. This is the core of what makes most of my weeks, most of my typical days, and this is also the core of what produces the biggest outcome. So it is almost 7 a.m. right now. I try to get over with my typical morning routine within 1 hour, which is basically preparing myself this drink, this ginger, lemon, cinnamon drink that I have every morning on empty stomach, because it not only wakes up your body entirely, but also gives you a lot of energy throughout the day. It has a bunch of good stuff. It is some effort to prepare it in the morning, not gonna lie. So that made it a little bit difficult to stick to it at the beginning, but now I kind of do it on autopilot, so I don't think about it as much. And a light workout in the morning, which I always do, because if it happens that I don't have time during the day to do a proper workout, at least those 15 to 20 minutes I did in the morning, at least it's better than zero. So that's basically what I try to do, to be consistent and to do it every single day. I do 15 to 20 minutes calisthenics, which is basically just body weight exercises, and then stretches afterwards. And then I prepare myself a breakfast, and then ideally right now I try to get to work or get started at 7 a.m. Today it's not a super typical day because I have a bunch of meetings, and usually my days are more cleaner than that. I try to avoid meetings as a disease, because at least for now the meetings are not as productive, because most of the work that I do gets done in my focused time, and then anything like recruiting, hiring, team management, operational stuff, I try to do asynchronously and have processes in the place so I don't have to have meetings to get things done. And that means on those days when I don't have meetings, I don't have as much of a productive output of work. I can't do those type of deep work sessions because it kind of disrupts the flow. However, I'm going to try to do a deep work session today for email marketing, which is our main priority and focus right now. And we have tons of things to do there. We already made a lot of progress, but we're writing a ton of content, me and Nikki, for email marketing, which marketing for us, by the way, which is a different terminology for different people. Obviously, the bad definition of marketing, or the people who do it in a bad way, is just, promoting your product or whatever you're selling. For me, marketing means you are educating, teaching people, delivering value, and you are informing them, by the way, if you want to learn the implementation on a more individual level, like a university degree, for example, then that's our bootcamp. That means we are writing a lot of content, a lot of textual. I also recorded some videos where I'm basically just teaching stuff, right? And I'm educating about the engineering trends, about the issues, about some use cases that are practical for them, and this type of stuff. And it is super creative. It is very similar to writing YouTube video scripts. It is very similar to writing tutorials and creating courses, because it's an educational content. And I do need deep work and undisrupted focus for that. Today is Monday, and yesterday we've been working almost the whole day because I wanted to complete at least a part of the email sequence. So we have around 9 emails that are purely educational, where I teach different concepts in every single email. I also try to make it interesting, so it's not like a boring tutorial that you get like in a university you don't even want to read, but instead to pack it in a way that it's fun to learn, it's engaging and interesting. So basically, it is a lot of work, and it's a lot of quality work. Yeah, because I just want it to be amazing. I just want people to open my email, to click on my email, to open it, to read it and be like, oh my God, I just learned something in like 2 minutes. And people feel much better after reading my email than before opening it. That's what I want to have with every single email, and that's why I try to, I review it like 10 times before we launch it, because I'm super focused on details, and like I sometimes review like one single sentence like 10 times because I want it to be perfect. So I'm gonna squeeze in 3 hours of deep work before the next meeting. I'm gonna feel good because I will be able to get some things done at least in this project and then go through all the meetings. Today is probably one of the days where I don't feel like super motivated and productive and pumped. Like I woke up at 6 a.m. and I was like, I just want to go back to sleep. Like I don't want to get up, I don't want to do the exercise, I don't want to prepare this drink. Obviously there are a lot of days like this, and what I do, and especially when I have meetings on the day where I don't get to work on the things that are like more enjoyable for me, and it's just, it's a day with lots of friction. I don't look forward to the whole day and going through it. So what I do, I basically just try to shut off that part of my brain that tries to think through, how it's gonna feel to go through the day. I just try to concentrate on the current moment. And even if I feel shitty or if I don't feel encouraged or motivated, I try to put myself on autopilot to just kind of be like, okay, like whatever mood I'm in, I'm just gonna do the work. It's not gonna feel good, it's not gonna be enjoyable, the whole day is not gonna be enjoyable, but I'm just gonna go through the motions, and I kind of turn myself into a robot basically. So I try to put myself on autopilot. That's what I'm trying to say. The thing is, I realized a lot of days you don't feel like working, or you have some big thing coming up, or you have a change, or you have to travel, whatever, and you have anxiety about it, or you just don't have the energy. And in those moments, it makes it much harder and much more unenjoyable if you actually think about the emotions that you're feeling. If you're like, I feel so anxious and I just don't feel like doing it, and why am I even doing this? Like if you go on that route of thinking about and reasoning through how shitty the whole thing is, then it's gonna make it worse. I just try to turn it off and just be like, it feels shitty, I'm just gonna do it anyways. So it's not gonna be an enjoyable experience, it's just a necessary thing to do. That means just accepting that some days are gonna be like that. Anyways, enough talking, 7:10, let's go to work. And throughout the day, I usually have some small things that I look forward to. Today, after I have breakfast and take my vitamins and minerals and stuff like that, I'm gonna have coffee, and that always makes me happy. So, let's go. I just got done with work. I actually got a lot of things done. We color code our email statuses. So basically I scripted all this and prepared for Nikki to add them in our customer management tool or email marketing tool and email marketing tool. So all of these are done, which are super important detail. I try to use storytelling approach everywhere to highlight some important concepts or tools or principles that they can learn in engineering, something that they should watch out for or something that's important, and basically make it readable, concise, short, and so on. So I'm pretty happy with the results. I'm also happy that I got all this done in the morning, even though it was not really deep work because I was a little bit distracted by some other stuff, but I'm happy with the results. Tomorrow I have no meetings, or at least nothing till the morning. So the entire morning is free. So I'm gonna be doing maybe 4 or 5 hours of work, and fully focusing on completing the final emails, perfecting them, the wording, the messages, and stuff like that. And after I'm done with them and Nikki integrates them into MailChimp, she basically adds her own stuff, and then I review it again, and then Nikki reviews it again. And so it basically goes through a few iterations. But this way we make sure that it's just perfect, reworked maybe 10 times to make it like really, really good, where we feel like now this is really, really nice. And we also created 2 additional assets that we are offering to our email community, which is going to be like part of the offer, so to say, part of a special exclusive offer. And we basically created these resources within like 3 days of like full focus on making them as good as possible. And they were actually part of this whole email marketing thing. Again, as with everything I do, I got some templates and boilerplate, and I looked at them and I'm like, this is not good. This is like any other whatever lead magnet or valuable resource that any other company could create. Like, this is not good enough for us. So I literally sat down and I probably rewrote every single section. Then I fact checked and double checked and triple checked everything. I tried to make it actionable. I tried to make it interesting, useful, not too short, not too large, not too shallow, not too like basically reworked. And that took probably a lot of time for this email automation project, but I'm super happy with results and that we have them, because even if we are offering something which is like, oh, this is just another add-on, like you're just getting it on top of the things. I want that thing that is on top of all the other things to be as brilliant and as amazing as every other stuff, because every time they open or read or look at any resource that we create at Tech Arena, I want them to be like, okay, this is amazing, and I'm sure that I couldn't get it anywhere else. Like, I want that to be the result of every single resource, whether it's a free resource like a lead magnet, or whether it's a paid one, or it's just an additional bonus extra. Like, I don't care. I want it to be top notch. So having that, I think is going to make our rest of the emails also amazing. And I have a little bit of time to prepare for my meeting, which is, am I allowed to say the name of the company we're meeting? Okay, no NDA. So I have a meeting with Bosch. They're based in Germany. So this is a partnership where they decided to book me for their developer conference they're organizing for their engineers, and they booked me to speak at this conference specifically about the topic of platform engineering, which is like a next evolution step of DevOps. I'm going to be talking for 1 hour, and today we have a meeting to kind of prep the talk. So I'm probably going to ask them a little bit questions about their audience and what their what the conference is about, to understand my target audience that I'm speaking to better, so I can prepare the topic or the talk specifically or even more tailored to exactly what they need, because whatever you talk about needs to be interesting for the target audience, right? One topic can be delivered in completely different ways based on who's in the audience and who's listening. So that's going to be the talk. They also want to do, I think, like a short video teaser with me about the conference, about the talk. So we're going to record that after the meeting. And it's the first time for me to get to know the team, because the entire negotiations and, like whenever we're doing any brand deals or partnering with companies, Nikki is basically the one who manages all the negotiations behind the scenes per email. So this is actually first time for me to actually interact and also see some of the people face to face. I have my meeting set up already prepared. I cleaned up my background basically because it was a mess. I have my 100K YouTube button here. My golden one is in the office, and reason why I'm not doing the meeting in the office is because my cleaning lady is there. We're gonna use the home office for today. One detail about this partnership is that they actually agreed to, after obviously some negotiations and stuff, they agreed to pay euros for 1 hour of my talk. Now, there are a few things to consider here. First of all, I know this sounds a lot of money for a lot of people, especially for me as an engineer. I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, is before starting my YouTube channel and before building the brand. This would have been like a completely crazy amount of money, even when I was working as a freelancer, and I was getting paid, up to 100 euros per hour. So that is like a massive scale, right? Usually for human brain, this type of exponential growth is really difficult to process. However, here's the thing. that exponential growth and this type of crazy amount per hour, like if we literally translate 4 hours of talk, that doesn't happen because your value per hour just increased. So in other words, they're not paying for my 1 hour of talk or giving this talk. They're paying for 4 years of me building a brand so that probably 90% of the engineers who do anything with cloud or DevOps know me or know our brand. So for Bosch basically to book me for the conference is like a statement basically, because they're booking someone who is known in the community and who a lot of engineers know. So that's one. They're paying for 4 years of hard work that we put in to build a brand in the engineering field. They're also paying for 10 years of me building the engineering knowledge and skill set to the level that I can teach it to not only individual engineers, but also teams of engineers and kind of give them guidance or high level direction, but also the deep dive to like how do you implement the individual steps. So they're paying for this accumulated hard work and results over years that just happens to culminate in this 1 hour where I can use all of this to give as much value as possible. And that is what causes that type of exponential jump in your value. The second thing is that generally we don't do this type of stuff. Like we get a lot of requests from companies, from conferences, from interviews. You know, if they're paying more than that for me basically flying to a place, covering all the travel expenses, paying for my hour or two of talk, we don't do that in general because first of all, that's not our focus, like that's not our business model, that's not what I do for as a purpose of my company, that's really just a side thing. And second, it definitely comes with an opportunity cost because obviously when someone books me, I want to show up and give 150% because whatever I do, I don't care whether it's free or paid, like if I do something, I want to do it 100% well. Like I don't want to just half do it. I want to put in all my resources, all my knowledge to make it amazing. Because for me, I see it as I do something, a lot of people see it and they kind of build an impression of what type of person is Nana that shows up and give this talk that didn't deliver any value. Or she showed up, she gave tons of value and she did a brilliant job. So whatever I do, if I agree to do something, I try to do it as well as possible. And again, whether it's free or not, I don't care. If I'm not sure that I want to put in the time and effort, then I'm just not going to do it at all. And that's exactly why we do so few of them, because in most of the time, I don't want to invest time and effort in doing talks or partnering with companies, because I would rather invest those resources either in building our team, our processes, or the content creation, the organic marketing and stuff like that. So this is an opportunity cost. I also only agreed to do it because I could do it online. So the first option was for me to fly to Germany and do it on site, which I also don't mind. Like I like talking to a live audience and interacting with them. However, because of the time and travel, we decided basically to do it online, and that's how it ended up. And we also only do it if it's some large company, if it's a big name, if it's something that I also get a lot of knowledge back. So basically this is something that we do rarely, but I just wanted to highlight something that for me personally would have seemed like a crazy deal. Like, oh my God, someone's getting paid thousands or 10,000s to talk someplace. Like, how is that even fathomable? Like, how can you process that, or how can you compare it? And that's how you compare it, right? And also, especially if you have leverage, if you're a content creator, right? And companies reach out to you to partner with you and you say, I have my own company, I have my own brand, I have my own products that I promote. I'm not reliant on you and your brand deals, right? Which is something that many content creators, for example, struggle with, who are not business people like us, for example. They're reliant on other people's products or other companies basically to generate money. And from the very beginning, we decided we want to create our own stuff and we don't want to promote other people's stuff, basically. That's our strategy. We're working with companies. We only work with few selected ones that are a win-win for everybody, including our audience. And we do very, very few of them. And because we have the leverage, we don't need them. We don't need their partnership. We don't need their offers. We almost said no to this one, but they stayed pretty persistent. And as I said, if I commit to something, if I decide to do something, then I do it with my best capacity and ability, because I don't want to have to do anything. If I don't feel like doing it, then I'm just gonna reject it. I don't care if it's free or if it pays, I don't know, 50,000 euros. That's a short or not very short note on the next meeting. Right after the meeting, I actually plan to go to a bank to reactivate my account. So it is kind of annoying errand, which is gonna be wasting a lot of my time because I have to walk to the bank and back. But it happens because I can't access my account online, so I have to reactivate it basically. And it's something that I can delegate to my assistant because she doesn't have the authority to reset my account. So basically time waster, but I have to do it. And after that, we have a viewing for a garage that we are renting in our neighborhood. Someone is renting it basically. So we're gonna just show the parking lot in the garage. That's it. And after that, I have another meeting with another company. So they are interested in some type of B2B deal. So they want us to train hundreds of their engineers with some customized, individualized trainings for the entire company. It's a large international tech company. We're probably not gonna do anything with them because we're not focused on B2B right now. It is a completely different business than B2C, which we're fully and utterly focused on right now. And we try to grow it and maximize it before we add another business model or another business column basically to the equation. Now, the interesting thing is that even though we are B2C and we're only marketing and promoting B2C, there are still at least 40% of companies that are buying our products, our trainings for their employees to upskill them or to basically teach them something that they need at work, implement it in a practical way because they can't find the information online or through courses. So basically they buy our trainings for the engineers to upskill them. And that kind of happens naturally, even though we are saying that we're not B2B. This will be something that is basically that, but at scale. So a company buying hundreds of our trainings or accesses for a bunch of their employees. But as I said, B2B is a different beast, right? The negotiation alone, like we would probably need a full-time person who is only dealing with like business customers. And the reason why I'm doing this is, first of all, it is a huge tech company that I want to build some kind of connection with. Second of all, even though we're not doing it now, I always think about long-term perspective of something, and B2B, like we see that there is potential, there is interest from companies. And once we kind of maximize the potential of B2C, that I can imagine us moving towards that direction and building a team, a small team for that. So I see it as already laying a foundation and learning everything necessary from the customer. So basically you're gonna ask them a bunch of questions and really dive deep and understand their needs and why they're coming to us and what they're looking for and what they can solve and the pain points and stuff like that. And I also have something to ask them for our students because we're covering the technology that they're building, this company is building specifically. And I want basically to invite one of their lead engineers to do like a live session with our students. So I'm gonna be asking because they also want to build some type of connection and partnership with us. We're gonna talk through some ideas and brainstorm and see how we can either learn from each other, collaborate, do like a win-win situation stuff. So that's gonna be the next meeting. And then after that, I have a little bit of time that I'm gonna dedicate to either email marketing or going through a testimonial or success story of one of our students that we got, reviewing it. And then we have a team bi-weekly where we just basically talk with our team and get up to date of what everyone is doing, give them any updates from our side that we're working on and stuff like that. Yeah, it's gonna be a long day. As I said, I don't like meetings, but sometimes they are necessary. So let's do it. Wie geht's euch?
Gut soweit, gut soweit. Wir sind aufgeregt. Wie geht's dir?
Sehr gut. Habe ich schon eine Worksession hinter mir. Freue mich, euch kennenzulernen. So the meeting done. Now let's go to the bank and get the account activated. And after that, I'm gonna have a quick lunch. So we have the viewing then, and then another meeting, and then the team meeting. Let's go.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, can you
Hi.
hear me okay?
Yes. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So a little check-in or update. I just finished my meeting with potential B2B partner. It went pretty well actually. So he basically explained all the issues they have as a tech company to onboard new clients, new enterprise customers in their technology, and how he thinks that we could help with that. And he basically mentioned a few options of how we can collaborate and partner. The good thing is that they are super willing to do something with us. With B2B, usually have these super complex use cases and issues or problems that need to be solved, which is like if you're an entrepreneur who is looking for ideas, if you enter B2B, it's so complex and it's so just loads of problems. It could be an entrepreneur's dream because you can discover so many valuable solutions that you can provide for these companies. And obviously the B2B budgets are much larger. Because our focus is currently on B2C, I usually use this type of conversations to gather facts for long-term addition of B2B products in our business because, as I said, there is a huge chance of extension in there. At this point, what I suggested is doing basically what we do without much change and finding some type of docking point for that. So basically we providing our trainings as we do without any changes, and they either white labeling it or adding their own kind of offering on top of that. But anyways, it was a pretty insightful, pretty interesting talk. I got to understand and learn a lot about just generally, I'm very curious about this type of stuff because it's on a much higher scale. Like, I mean, it is a company that's making 800 million in revenue from enterprise customers. So it is just a very interesting space. And I like to dig in and ask a lot of questions because I want to understand how it works. Obviously, it's a completely new field and space of business. Yeah, it's always interesting to learn more business, especially from talking to actual potential clients or partners. So generally speaking, the day has been much more productive than I thought it would be. I started out less enthusiastically, but actually the meetings have been really great. The work has been productive. I actually completed almost all the offer emails, which are, I think, six of them in total. Every single email requires quite a lot of focus and creativity and writing skills. So I'm happy that it is progressing quite well. Oh, and another really good news, the viewing for the garage, the parking lot, actually went pretty well. He immediately agreed to take it. We have been listing this for a few months already. So we thought there was no demand for it. I was already getting pretty nervous. I'm not super nervous because it's a garage, so even if it doesn't get rented out, it's not like a huge loss, but I still didn't want it to be wasted. So I'm happy that it's going to be rented out now for 5 years, for the next 5 years, at least that's the contract duration. And tomorrow we already have a handover. He's super excited, which is a good sign when your customer or your tenant is excited about the property. Yeah, so that was another win for today. And I still have a little bit of energy, even after all those errands and meetings and work. So I have 2 more hours before our team meeting, which means I could finish maybe 2-3 more emails in that time or do some work. Nikki also asked me to review a testimonial. Pretty standard day in terms of just work and more work from the morning till the evening. Non-standard in a sense that I don't have as many meetings usually, so I can work in peace without being disturbed. That's what we do most of the time during the week. Not many social events, but that's what drives the business forward. That's what makes the impact. Honestly, that's what excites me. Like, I literally got energized throughout the day, even though these are not like my favorite tasks to do or the things to work on. Just those type of small wins, or making a progress, or getting a part of the project done, or accomplishing something. Like, those small progress steps and wins during the day actually bring up my energy and make me feel like accomplished and productive and happy by the end of the day. So I don't feel like I'm missing too much of socializing or work-life balance or whatever, even though I'm working pretty much every single day, most of the time, including weekends. So now back to work. And then I'm actually looking forward to the evening, nice dinner, watching Netflix, a new series, and wrapping up the day like this. So let's do some more work now. Okay, so now we are finally officially done with the day, with our last meeting. I also realized that I hadn't planned for the week, and it's Monday today, so I did a little bit of planning for some of the priorities and some of the important things that we want to do this week, as well as for tomorrow. So the current priority, the number one thing, is obviously to release the version 2 of the email marketing that we're doing as soon as possible, because even though we are trying to make it the best way possible and perfect like a lot of the details, I also don't want to stretch it too long and make it too perfect and kind of delay the release. That's why I want to keep the balance between the quality and the speed. So I want to release it very soon, which means our next 2 days will be dedicated very intensively to make sure that it gets released, at least the version that we are happy with, and then we can always do like small optimizations and changes here and there continuously, right? So that's number one. Another thing is the second big priority is always about hiring a team. In this case, we actually hired a new role, a new team member, and he's going to be starting next week, which means I want to prepare a proper onboarding, not only the accesses and the administrative stuff, but also, what are the goals that we want to achieve? What are the timelines? Like what is the outcome that we want to achieve that is also measurable? So kind of define the projects and the steps that this person will take on. And he's also a type of person, which is the type that I always try to hire and go for. Someone who likes challenges, someone who wants to get challenging tasks and projects, have some kind of freedom for their own suggestions and ideas and stuff like that. So I want to basically prepare to make sure that this person gets proper onboarding and introduction, and then he can start doing his work as efficiently as possible. Hiring needs as much time as onboarding and integrating the person in your team, which means you need to share your goals, your visions for the company. You need to motivate them, to give them purpose, like why are they doing certain tasks, certain projects. Empower them, but not too much. Give them guardrails so that they don't do like major fuck-ups, but still give them enough room to be creative and think creatively and not be just too constrained. I'm going to plan in time specifically during the week to properly work on that and think about and structure all the projects that I have come up with where I need his expertise and his help specifically, and then turn that into an onboarding list, because obviously I have thousands of ideas, but it needs to be in a structured and more importantly in an actionable way. So when he starts, he needs to know what is the goal for the next 2 weeks? What is the goal by the end of 6 months? Are we progressing? And put some measures in. Are we progressing towards the goal? Are we not progressing? And stuff like that, which I believe is the best utilization or usage of someone's talent and resources. So that's the second major priority. And other than that, we have some small stuff, which is, setting up the rent agreement for the garage that we just rented out, as well as doing an update for a course. Tomorrow I have a meeting with one of my engineers. We're working on automating the customer feedback flowing back into our team so that our team is always aware about what customers are feeling, seeing, experiencing, so that they can improve, they can become better. So that's going to be one of the projects. So basically this type of smaller stuff that are also an important part of operations or business or sales or whatever part of the business, but they need to be done as well. So I usually plan in afternoons for this type of small tasks that don't need too much, deep work and deep dive, but are still important as like small improvements continuously. So that's the plan for the week. It's pretty ambitiously planned as always, but when I do the planning for the week, I make sure that every single task or goal of the week has a specific meaning. So I don't just blindly take some tasks that I came up with maybe last week and just push it to the next week. I actively and proactively decide, is this meaningful? Is this important? What purpose does it serve? And only then I plan it in the week and I know exactly why they're there and why we're doing it. That's the status. I probably won't be vlogging or recording anymore this week. Instead, just focusing on the work, because vlogging is also work. It's, you have to still think about stuff while you're vlogging. You have to think about turning on your camera and sharing your ideas and stuff like that. So it adds a little bit of effort. Even if it looks natural and very easy and simple, it still adds a little bit of effort to the already packed working day. So that's why I probably won't be recording anything this week, but I will try to share as much of such typical, like very common business work days to show the insights to like real stuff, what we're working on, what we're experiencing, what we're trying out, how I think about this kind of stuff. Hope it's valuable. Hope it makes some of the things clearer, especially if you're a young entrepreneur starting out. So let me know definitely if this adds value, if this is either motivating or informative, inspiring, whatever, and I will keep creating those. And as always, thank you for your time, and I'll catch you in the next video.